tell us that, then we'll say you stole.
All right, and Director of IFMIS, in case you're watching or if anybody knows him and has access to him, we're waiting to hear from you on what exactly happened. But the other thing that happened this week was farmers were up in arms, and this was because government was looking towards importation of maize to fill the gap that Kenya requires. But of course, the reason they are up in arms is because, according to them, farmers in Kenya are well and able to supply the maize that is required if they get government support. And I'll start with you, Honorable Tindi Mwale. I know you come from an area where there are farmers, and the question is, what is with our maize? It always seems to hit the headlines for the wrong reasons.
First of all, I want to say that the farmers were right. You know, in government, we have a lot of cartels. And those people who are telling government that we need to import maize are the ones who have the maize already. And they want to bring in the maize to lie to government that, you see, we have a deficit, so if we bring in more, there is a way we can compensate. But you see, the reality is that when you check the Western Kenya and part of the Uasin Gishu, we have a lot of farmers who have ready maize, even they want to sell it to government. But government has lowered the prices, and it doesn't want to take the maize. So the farmers were right. Why should you bring in more maize from outside when actually you have even refused to take the one that is with the local farmer?
The question then remains, who makes these decisions? Because if farmers themselves do know that we can supply maize and it's enough, the question is, who makes these decisions of importing maize and they are approved? Because for that maize to be brought in, there has to be a process again. Just like if there's somebody who will approve and there's somebody who will make sure that that is all done.
The decisions are made in the Ministry of Agriculture. And you see, the CS Kiunjuri should now come out and tell us who is trying to guide him, who is trying to tell him to import more maize. He should come out and tell us.
I think the politics of maize and sugar in this country is never ending, and there will need to be a stop to it. And I'm happy to say that within my committee, where I chair, the Committee for Delegated Legislation, one of the discussions we are in with the Ministry of Agriculture, CS Kiunjuri, is to develop the food crop regulations, which includes maize and sugar and so on. One of the things we are trying to do within that regulation is to require farmers to register. So you register under an association saying you have 2 acres of maize, or 10 acres of maize, or 100 acres of maize. The reason why we want that registration to be done is so that we can almost calculate year to year with near precision at a county level how much maize shall be produced, for example, in Uasin Gishu County. That way, we can tell, because as a leader, I would like to speak that, no, you cannot import maize. But do I know how much maize was produced by the country? We do not know. We only know what was delivered to the National Cereals Board. We don't even know what the farmers are holding in their stores. But if we register as that particular crop farmer, we'll be able to do that. And that is where the cartel issue comes in. Because I will give the example of sugar last year. Kenya imported 800,000 metric tons of sugar, thereabouts. But it turned out that the shortage we had was 200,000 metric tons. So eventually we had the market flooded. Why? At the time when they are issuing the licenses for importation, ostensibly to cover the deficit, they have not told us how it has been produced in the country. That is thrive. Therefore, I've been a very big supporter that we should register the farmers, so that we do know that we are able to bring this in. The other issue that is very curious is, why do we hear that we have a shortfall and now we want to import year in, year end? I want to see the Ministry of Agriculture boosting the production. What are the measures they put in place? The type of fertilizer that we use, that we have the right seed so that our harvest is optimal, and that way we are able to produce more, because right now we are actually producing less than 50% that we are capable of producing as a country. And then the other curious issue we should be asking is, if we have money to import maize, why is it that we have farmers today who have not been paid?
Absolutely.
You owe farmers money. As a farmer, I'm a farmer. I don't sell my maize to the National Cereals Board. I rather feed it to my cows. Reason being that the Cereals Board will stay with your money. First of all, you deliver the maize. You've been broke the entire year because you're waiting for the crop. You harvest it. you are, by the time you're harvesting, you hardly have enough money to undertake the harvest. You don't even have the money to buy sacks to store the maize, as a farmer.
Right.
And then they keep your maize and not even pay you, and they have not paid you, and they stay for months. Why is it that when it's importation, the money is readily available? When it is paying the local farmer, the money is not available. And we must change this so that we say, even if there is a shortage, these farmer cooperatives that we are now going to start registering, the associations of farmers, then let's say, let the farmers be the ones to import. And let them be funded to be able to import into the country.
Is the long and short of it, we have cartels, just like Honorable Tini.
Yes, we do.
Let me tell you, there is something called finder's fee, and it's a demon in people's heads. A lot of technocrats in this country are obsessed with it. They will find any excuse to procure outside the country. They will procure upon procurement because there's a finder's fee. And then the second part that exists is commodities such as sugar and maize. They're among the few commodities that if you bring to the port and it ends up in the market, you are 100% sure you will sell everything before the month is over. So the returns on this thing are very, very high. Now, the problem is when you have people who think like that, they will never think about the farmer. They will never ever think about food security. They will never for one moment pause to think and say that today, if you just figured out how to transport maize from Uasin Gishu County to Baringo County, we would not have seen the hunger we saw last year. If you could figure out a way of just making sure that the sacks and bags of maize that are stored in Uasin Gishu today as we speak, that Madam Shole is feeding to her cows, if you could figure out how they're coming to Nairobi, we would not be speaking of hunger. Third, if you could figure out when the rainy season starts, so that your subsidized fertilizer can arrive on time, because that is clearly a very hard thing for the Ministry of Agriculture. They can never figure out when the rainy season starts and when the fertilizer should be there. If they could figure that out, Kenya would be food secure. If they could just figure out, for example, what are the needs of the Kenyan farmer in terms of being able to bring things to market, we'd be better. If they could figure out that if you have treasury money,
but allow me to stop you. Allow me to stop you, because the question here is not if they can figure out. It seems like they do not want to figure it out.
No, I think,
I understand.
Let me tell you, one thing I learned a lot in government is that you may think that you have a great idea and you're the first one to figure it out. No, they know it. They know exactly what to do.
Precisely.
First of all, you must improve the harvest. Number two, why is it that we have had a serious drought this year and the rains are late? We are still not guaranteed that we will have rain, but no one is talking about programs to build water pans for water harvesting so that next year we don't have the same crisis. Problem. It's almost like they deliberately don't take any action so that they can precipitate a crisis in order for them to be able to import the maize. Why is it that we don't try and fix our sugar sector? And let me give an example. We have the big four, which is food security is the big. Think about how we thought about food security. We think about food security in the biggest mega projects. One of them is let us go and irrigate Gulana project. Yes, that one. That we go and irrigate that place. Why is it that you don't come to Uasin Gishu County? We do not need irrigation. We just need seed and fertilizer, and believe me, we will be able to, we can harvest water even if we have it for a day or two.